Mother bear tied with the tree human baby saw this and did something that put everyone in tears. Let us know where you are watching from. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you love our content, the soft amber light of early evening filtered through the dense pines that surrounded Oak Village. Olivia Harper clutched her 2-year-old daughter Sophie close to her chest as she followed the growing crowd toward the clearing. Whispers and urgent voices carried through the crisp autumn air. Something was happening. Something that had drawn nearly every resident from their homes and into the woods that bordered their small community. They caught it, someone muttered as they passed the bear that's been stealing livestock. Olivia hesitated, wondering if she should turn back. Taking a toddler to see a captured wild animal seemed unwise, but curiosity pushed her forward. Sophie squirmed in her arms, her wide blue eyes taking in the unusual commotion around them. The child's chestnut curls bounced with each step, her tiny fingers clutching her mother's sweater for security. In this strange procession, the crowd parted as they reached the edge of the clearing, and Olivia's breath caught in her throat. There, tied tightly to an ancient oak tree with thick ropes, was an enormous brown bear. The creature's fur was matted with dirt and what appeared to be dried blood. Its massive chest heaved with labored breaths, and though its mouth was not muzzled, it made no sound. Only watch the gathered humans with dark, pain-filled eyes. They found her near the Miller farm this morning. A man nearby explained to no one in particular, she killed 2 sheep last week, and they think she was coming back for more. Olivia noticed the bear's restraints cutting into her flesh. The ropes had been secured around her neck, torso, and all 4 legs, binding her so tightly to the tree that she could barely move. The bear's eyes held a deep, almost human-like suffering that made Olivia's heart twist uncomfortably. The bear's claws, which should have been formidable weapons, hung limply against the rough bar, occasionally twitching in what seemed like futile attempts to escape. A cold breeze rustled through the leaves overhead, carrying with it the scent of pine and approaching rain. The villagers huddled closer together, their breath forming small clouds in the cooling air. Some held flashlights, the beams crossing and illuminating the bear. In an eerie, theatrical glow. "What will they do with her?" Olivia asked the man beside her, a store owner named Marcus, whom she recognized from town. Marcus adjusted his wool cap. "Inside game warden's been called. Should be here within the hour. Some folks want her relocated, others." His voice trailed off, but his meaning was clear. Sophie began to fuss, and Olivia bounced her gently. "Shit's okay," she whispered, though the words felt hollow. Nothing about this scene felt okay. The child continued to whimper, her small body tensing as though she could sense the gravity of the situation unfolding before them as the crowd's murmuring grew louder. A local farmer named Thomas Reed stepped forward. His weathered face was creased with anger as he gestured toward the bear. "This beast has been terrorizing our livestock for weeks, moving her. Just ships the problem somewhere else." His voice was hard with anger echoing through the clearing. "My children can't even play outside because of this monster. I've lost 6 sheep this month alone." Alana Wilson, who ran the local veterinary clinic, pushed her way to the front of the crowd. Her gray hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and her eyes flashed with indignation. "That's no way to treat any living creature." Thomas Reed, "Look at those ropes. They're cutting into her flesh. She can barely breathe." Arguments erupted among the villagers, some agreeing with Thomas, others advocating for mercy through it all. The bear remained silent, her eyes reflecting exhaustion and defeat. The massive animal had stopped struggling, as though resigned to whatever fate these humans would decide for her. Then something caught Olivia's attention. The bear's gaze had shifted slightly, focusing on something beyond the crowd following. That look, Olivia noticed for the first time that a smaller shape lay half hidden in the tall grass, about 20 feet from the tree. Her heart sank as understanding dawned. The small bundle of dark fur was barely visible in the fading light, but there was no mistaking what it was. "There's a cub," she whispered, but her voice was lost in the heated debate around her. She tried again, louder this time. "Listen, there's a cub over there." Her words caught Elena's attention, and the veterinarian followed her pointing finger. "My God," Eleanor breathed. "She has a cub." The mother bear's eyes never left that spot, and despite her own suffering, her primary concern seemed to be for her unseen young Olivia. understood that devotion perfectly instinctively, pulling Sophie closer to her chest. The parallel was not lost on her two mothers, worlds apart in nature, yet bound by the same fierce instinct to protect their children. Suddenly, Sophie squirmed with unexpected strength, nearly tumbling from Olivia's arms. "Sophie," she gasped, struggling to maintain her grip on the toddler, who now reached out toward the bear with both small hands bare hurt. Sophie said clearly, her face crumpling into a frown. Bare hurt, Mama Olivia felt tears spring to her eyes. Even at 2 years old, her daughter could recognize suffering. She tried to turn Sophie away from the distressing sight, but the child twisted persistently. In her arms, her gaze locked on the bound animal. Sophie's lower lip trembled as she continued to reach out, as though she believed her tiny hands could somehow alleviate the bear's pain. "Yes, sweetheart, the bear is hurt," Olivia murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "But it's not safe to go near her," as the argument among the villagers intensified. Olivia noticed with growing alarm that the ropes around the bear's neck seemed to be tightening as the animal's struggles weakened. Time was running out, and so somewhere in the grass a cub waited for a mother who might never return. The thought was unbearable. The evening shadows lengthened across the clearing, and with each passing minute, the mother bear's breast grew more shallow, her magnificent strength ebbing away beneath the cruel restraints that held her captive. The crowd continued to argue, oblivious to the fact that their debate might soon be rendered meaningless by the bear's death. "The Gordon won't be here for at least another 40 minutes, announced Samuel Hayes, the town sheriff, as he snapped his cell phone shut. "Traffic accident on the highway has everything backed up." A collective groan rose from the crowd. 40 minutes might as well be an eternity for the struggling bear already. Her breathing had become more labored, and a faint wheezing sound accompanied each rise and fall of her chest. "We can't wait that long," Eleanor insisted, her medical training making her all too aware of the bear's deteriorating condition. "Those ropes need to be loosened, at least around her neck and chest." Thomas Reed scoffed, folding his arms across his broad chest. "And who's going to do that? That animal could tear your throat out with one swipe if she gets any freedom. She's too weak to do much damage." Eleanor countered, though uncertainty flickered across her face. The bear, while clearly suffering, was still a wild predator with powerful jaws and claws. Olivia felt Sophie growing heavier in her arms as the child leaned toward the bear with increasing determination. "Bear Mama Sophie," said, her small face solemn with concern. "Bear Mama." Hurt, Olivia glanced between her daughter and the suffering animal, then followed Sophie's gaze to where the cub lay, hidden in the grass. Something about Sophie's innocent empathy struck a chord within her. Children often saw the world with clarity that adults had long forgotten. "She's right," Olivia said, her voice stronger than she expected. "That's not just a bear, that's a mother protecting her baby." Several villagers turned to look at her, some with confusion, others with dawning realization, as they too spotted the cub in the distance. James Parker, a retired forest ranger who had lived in Oak Ridge his entire life, stepped forward. His weathered face was thoughtful as he studied the scene. "The cub explains why she's been so bold lately. Coming close to farms she's trying to feed her young, that doesn't give her the right to kill our livestock." Thomas insisted, though his voice had lost some of its earlier vach. "No." James agreed, "but it explains her behavior. Bears don't usually come this close to human settlements unless they're desperate." While the adults continued their debate, Sophie had grown increasingly restless in Olivia's arms. The toddler's eyes remained fixed on the bear, her small body tense with distress. Suddenly, with a quick twist that caught Olivia off guard, Sophie wriggled free and dropped to the ground. Olivia lunged for her daughter, but the child was surprisingly quick before anyone could react. Sophie had darted through the forest of adult legs and escaped into the open space between the crowd and the bound bear. A collective gasp rose from the gathered villagers as the little girl, barely steady on her feet, toddled directly toward the enormous. For the final part of this story, please stay with us and do subscribe our channel, The Animals 2.0.